The heroine of my Notorious life is named Axie Muldoon. She's the child of desperately poor Irish immigrants living in New York of the 1850s. The character of Axie was inspired by a photograph of a little girl taken by Jacob Riis, who was a famous journalist of the era. Some 30,000 homeless children lived on the streets of New York in the 19th century, and Axie and her sister and brother are among them. They get swept up in the orphan train movement. It's a program which was designed to send homeless kids out west where they were supposed to find fresh air and new families. But in my Notorious life, it doesn't quite work out that way for Axie, and she lands back in New York, longing for her missing family. I love the history of that period. It's just so full of scandal and social change and people inventing themselves out of scraps, which is what Axie does. She finds herself apprenticed to a doctor, and she learns to sell medicine called lunar tablets for the relief of female complaint, and becomes a midwife known as Madam X. In true rags to riches fashion, she makes a fortune helping the desperate women who come to her doorstep. And this part of Axie's story is inspired by a real person, Anne Lohman, who practiced as a midwife and an abortionist for 40 years in New York. And she grew so wealthy that she built a huge mansion on Fifth Avenue. She was quite the scandalous figure. Like Lohman, Axie also finds herself in the headlines and in trouble with the law. But Axie's pretty feisty, and while she might rather go riding through Central Park in her carriage, she's drafted sort of reluctantly into a political fight that resonates with current issues. The book begins with a mystery about a body in a bathtub, because in 1879, people started a rumor that Anne Lohman had faked suicide, had escaped, and would one day spill her secrets. And I thought, well, what if she did? What would her story be? So my Notorious life is Axie's tale and my imagining of what secrets and truths a woman like her might be able to tell us about the past.